Hello Choppers and welcome to Logan Chop's Quickie preview of Townsfolk Tussle by Panic Roll Games. Townsfolk Tussle is for 2 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and it plays in about 40 minutes per player. There's a lot of components to this game and a lot of pieces, but we're going to focus on the main board here in the video, and I'll show you the other things as we go along. In Townsfolk Tussle, the sheriff of Eureka Springs has been murdered and ruffians are coming in to take over the town, and you play the role of a townsfolk trying to beat them. The game is played over 4 different rounds, and at the beginning of the 4th round, a new sheriff shall be elected from amongst the players to take on the final boss. The rounds are dictated by these little tokens here that are drawn blindly and placed on the board like so, starting from the weakest ruffian to the final boss. Once players get their character, they will take their character tokens and place them on the board over here. This board will dictate not only the beating order, which is during the fight phase, or the buying order, which is during the town phase, and the order the players and the ruffians will go. Here you can see I have it set up for a 2-player game, with my 2 player sheets down here. Each player sheet is set up with a name, a little description on the back of the character, and little spots where you put your tokens to keep track of your health, movement, moxie, and accuracy. Moxie is used to do different abilities during the game, where movement is used to move your character on the board. Health, of course, is used to keep track of your health, and accuracy is used for making an attack. Players will also grab their character's mini, but for the prototype we have standees, and their special die for their character, as well as any starting equipment that they may have. Here you can see that Henlo starts with some farmer's overalls and also a wheat sickle for attack. It shows how many moxie you must use to make that attack, the damage you do if the attack hits, and your accuracy, which is what you have to roll above to be able to hit the ruffian. Some equipment also comes with special abilities, like you can see the farmer's overalls here give +3 to terrain rolls on the overgrown cornfield and mushroom grove. We'll get to that in a minute. Players also each start off with 10 coins, so that they are able to buy special equipment over here in the first round of the game. Players will also start off with 3 feats of metal, which are achievements that you can acquire and obtain during the game for extra points and coins, or, like in this example, +1 movement. Here, if you obtain a piece of gear worth 4 coins or less, you'd automatically achieve this and keep it in front of you for 1 point. Feats of metal are used to possibly obtain a piece of ruffian's special gear after it's been defeated in a round. The player with the highest amount of points from their feats of metal will get a piece of the ruffian's gear. Then, in buying order, from the bottom to the top, you can see Yancey would go before Henlo. Each player will draw and resolve a town event card. Some of them are secret, which will stay face down in front of you until something triggers to have you resolve it. But the other ones are like this private collection one, where it says, in this town phase, only you may purchase the top 4 pieces of gear from the peddler. Then, each player, in buying order, will go ahead and be able to purchase 1 piece of gear from the peddler, or will be able to pass, so the next player can buy a piece of gear, and this keeps going till everybody wants to pass. Different pieces of gear have their coin cost over here on the right hand side and do different things, like the aviator glasses here would give you +1 movement, so you would adjust your token on your character board up by 1, and also give you different abilities, like when you deal damage with a whip, you may push the ruffian 2 squares away from you. After everyone has had a chance to buy in the town phase and everybody passes, you will flip the town phase board over to the fight phase board. And then you will also reveal the character that is in the next available spot on. We can see here we've got Bort Dovis. This token will go into the top of the beating order and you will start the fight phase. Now that the ruffian has been revealed for the fight phase, you grab their board, token or mini, and their deck and place it over in the appropriate spot here on the fight phase board, as well as marking the ruffian's health and movement on the trackers down below. Once you have their stuff on the board there, you turn over the ruffian's board and find out how you set up the board and what special terrain you're going to use that you can interact with for this round. When setting up, you ignore the bottom part of the back of the sheet, because that only applies to the final boss fight, if this is the final boss. You flip the sheet back over, and you go ahead and put it in place on the board. The back of the setup also tells you where the Ruffian starts, and also what possible places townsfolk may start. Depending on what round this is, the Ruffian may have a special ability. We can see that since this is the first round and it was in the chump square, that there's nothing special about this guy, so we don't have to worry about him. Once the fight phase is all set up with the rain cards and the bad guy, beating order will dictate who gets to go first. Of course, it's going to start off with the Ruffian, Bort, going first. For the Ruffian's turn, all you have to do is flip over the first card in their deck and proceed down with their target, what kind of attack they do, and if it has any special after effects of the attack. Here we can see that there's no target, but he will move towards the farthest townfolk, trigger this after effect, and then play the next card in his action deck. After the Ruffian has taken his turn, then it is time for the townsfolk to go, spending their moxie and movement to get closer to the Ruffian and beat him. During the fight phase, you are able to interact with certain terrain pieces that are on the board as dictated by the terrain cards. Here, we can see for the Rickety Farm, it's an obstacle, so you can't move through it, but you can go to the door, spend one moxie, and try to knock for assistance. And then you'll roll your die, and on different numbers, different things will happen. If you happen to defeat the Ruffian for their round, whoever has the most points from their feats of metal will get to choose one of 3 or 4 pieces of Ruffian special gear. After the feat is chosen, the Ruffian's token will be taken off the board and put back in its chump spot. Whoever is top on the beating order will get rotated to the bottom, and then you will go back to having another town phase. Also, for defeating the Ruffian, all players will earn 6 coins to be able to spend during their next buying phase. If this had been the final fight, during setup, you would take into account the bottom of the board here. We can see there's a little blurb having to deal with the bottom portion of final fight of what's going on, and alternate setup, different setup, where you would appoint a new sheriff, and they would get a special piece of equipment to help them in the final fight. The Ruffian will have different abilities and win conditions. Whenever you win, if you win, or depending on if you lose, the rulebook has different sections that you would read that would result in different endings for the game, depending on if you defeat the Ruffian, if you also completed the special objective over here, or if you lose, you would read a different part. Townsfolk Tussle is a great game with wonderful artwork, and even though I didn't get to show you too much of it, it has great innuendos and different punchlines and stuff on the character cards, which you'll see during the Kickstarter, which is going to be October 20th, 2020. So make sure you keep an eye out for Townsfolk Tussle on Kickstarter. I'm Logan for Logan Chop's Quickie Previews. We'll see you next time. Happy gaming.